On today's Smokey Dave Presents, we will be making a delightful pork belly. Crunchy, crisp skin, tender, smoky, delicious pork with a wonderful honey garlic sauce, garnished with toasted sesame seeds and green onion. Aw, yeah. Before me here is a wonderful center cut of pork belly I purchased from my local butcher. Now the pork belly is the same part of the pig that we use to make bacon. However, if we're going to make pork belly, which of course is uncured and unsmoked, at least this piece is unsmoked at this point, we want to have the center cut. This has better marbling, more meat in it, and will just provide a better pork belly. Now, if your pork belly has some hairs or other detritus on it, you're going to want to take a sharp knife and scrape that off and get just the pure skin. However, in my case, my butcher's already taken care of that. So what we're going to do today is we're going to flip this on the skin side, and we're going to cut this into 3 equal pieces. So let me get started with that. Once we've cut the pork belly into 3 equal pieces, the next step is to score the skin on the top. We're going to make vertical slices about every 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, and we're going to cut into the skin about 1/4 of an inch deep. So it'll go through the skin and a little bit into the fat. We don't want to go any deeper than that, but this is going to allow the smoke to penetrate into the meat and also to help the skin dry out. We want that skin to dry out to about 10% moisture, as we will be deep frying that side of the pork belly when we're finishing it to give a pork crackling, crunchy, crisp skin texture. You're going to want to use a very sharp knife like I have here. And you can see, even so, it is a little bit of work to get through that skin. As it is now, in its raw form, it is quite tough. But that won't be a problem by the time we're done with it, as you'll soon see. The pork belly is scored now. And the next thing we're going to do is mix together a mixture of 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. I'm using Demerara sugar here. And 3 tablespoons of salt. Now, this mixture will be placed on all of the meat sides, but not on the skin side. We don't want any sugar to touch the skin, because if that gets in the oven that way, it will burn. So what we're going to do is place the pork belly skin side down in the pan, and then we will place all of the salt sugar mixture on the back and sides of the pork. So we'll carefully do this as much as we can and get that onto the pork now. And once it's completely covered, we'll carefully lift each pork belly and flip it over. Using a towel, we'll wipe off any excess sugar that might have gotten on the skin side. Again, we don't want any sugar on the skin side because we're trying to dry that out and pull moisture out of it, and also we don't want it to burn. So you see how I've got some sugar there. I'm going to have to brush that off. So after we brush that off, we'll put a fairly heavy coating of of salt on the skin. So I'm just using my salt grinder here, put a little salt on there. And then we'll place this pan uncovered in the refrigerator for at least 12 hours. And you can go as long as 24. I did it for 12 and it came out perfect. This will help dry out that skin and get it perfect for frying. Remember, we got a 3.5 hour cook time, so this is a recipe you need to prepare the day before. Hello everyone, just wanted to cut in here in a minute to promote some merch we have. Of course, I have my original "You May Fascinate a Woman with a Piece of Cheese" t-shirt. We also have our new t-shirt that's somewhere in this vicinity. I'm going to show you. I haven't gotten one yet, but you can get one now. If you're going to cut the cheese, just make sure it's Smokey Dave's. Hey everyone, if you like our content, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you'll know when we get new videos dropped. And leave a comment. I always read all the comments, and I'll answer any questions you may have, if I know the answer, and even if I don't. Anyway, back to the video. I'm going to be using some hickory here. Make sure that's in the shot. A little bit of hickory. And we're going to use some of our cherry. Now cherry gives a little bit stronger smoke flavor. So of course we're going to be putting in our secret ingredient, a little bit of rosemary. Let's get smoking. So I'm ready to put the pork bellies in the smoker now. It's developed some nice smoke, as you can see. I'll be placing that on the lower rack. But on the upper rack, I'm going to be placing a special ingredient. You see, when we cook the pork, we render out the pork fat or lard. And we typically use that to fry the skin in. But usually, in most recipes, they call to add some vegetable oil to it. But we're going to add something special, some Wagyu beef tallow. So we're going to be taking beef rendered fat, which is tallow, and pork rendered fat, which is lard, and mixing them together, and that's called lallo or tard. I'm not going there. But seriously, folks, yeah, we'll put this in the smoker to pick up a little smoke as well. And after 2 hours, everything's ready. So I'm going to pull that out. You can see it was cold and the tallow hardened up. We'll take the pork bellies and I'll meet you up in the kitchen. The pork belly is fully smoked, and now I'm going to place it on an oven rack over top of a shallow pan. The pan will capture all that lovely rendered pork fat that we'll be using later. However, when it came out of the smoker, the salt that was on there over the last 2 hours pulled out a lot of moisture, and so I want to get some of that moisture off, so I'm using this paper towel and just tapping softly and getting some of that off, trying not to knock off any of the salt crystals or the sugar salt mixture. Now in my oven I have a pizza stone that'll help keep the temperature very stable during this time. We're going to be setting the oven to 250 degrees, and this pork is going to be in there for a total of 3.5 hours. So into the oven it goes, and while the 3.5 hours go by, we'll work on our garnish. Now it's time to make the garnish. And we have a 1/4 cup of honey, 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, 4 cloves of garlic minced, 2 green onions chopped, and salt to taste. And if you've never toasted sesame seeds before, it's really easy. Just pour some into a dry frying pan, as you see I'm doing, and almost immediately it'll begin to pop like popcorn. It gets a golden color and a deep, rich, nutty flavor. And we'll mix that cup of honey, 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, and 4 cloves of minced garlic together into another pot, and that'll make our sauce and bring that to a boil. And we'll keep the green onion and sesame seeds to the side to sprinkle on the pork later. Unfortunately, my camera's battery died right when I was mixing the garnish together, so I don't have any video of that, but I assure you it comes out very good. You do want to bring it to a boil and then simmer for about a minute. Okay, the pork is finally done. So we're going to lift the pork belly off of the rack, and then we're going to save all that beautiful fat that we've rendered out of it. We're pouring the rendered fat into this bowl, and I'm going to use my tongs to get some of those bits of cooked on flavor right there, because we're going to be adding a little bit of this fat and those cooked on bits to our garnish, which will just increase its flavor just that much more. We're going to get our cast iron pan here and pour in the rendered pork fat. And along with that, we'll also be adding the smoked beef tallow. And get these up to temperature, about 350 degrees. It'll start smoking a little bit at that point. We don't want it to smoke too much. Don't want it to burn. We want it to be very hot. Oh yeah, there we go. Beautiful. I'm going to spoon a little bit of that hot oil on to catch the corners where the skin didn't quite reach. And of course, just to spoon a little bit onto the whole pork belly itself, just to add additional flavor. smoky, crunchy on top. The pork is tender, almost falling apart in your mouth. Yeah, I know it took a long time, but ladies and gentlemen, this is delicious. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this latest edition of Smokey Dave Presents. This certainly was an interesting one for me, and a delicious one as well. Let me know if you try this recipe and how it comes out for you. Leave a comment down below. I'll definitely answer. And until next time, remember folks, it's no joke. Everything's better with smoke.